Hello, guys and girls. The program you are about to hear will be both fun and educational, but it is not a substitute for medical advice. Although we are doctors, we are not your doctors. All right, recorder is on.
Mm-hmm.
And in three, two, one, and hello, and welcome to Travel Medicine. As always, I'm your friendly neighborhood internal medicine doc, Dr. J.
Hey guys, Dr. Santhosh here, your pediatric infectious disease doc and a researcher.
And Santhosh, before we get started with the rest of the episode, I just have to say I'm still pretty excited that we will be making our very first live appearance at C2E2 in Chicago this March/April. And
Live!
yeah,
We live! Oh, I love it. Yeah,
so if
absolutely.
you are interested in comics or culture around pop culture, or if you are interested in comics or pop culture, or you'd like to
Mhm.
learn about comic book medicine, one of my favorite series, come on
Yeah,
out and see us.
dude, we're so excited to bring this out to you. I'll try to limit the profanity.
Yeah, I'm bringing a swear jar.
All right. All right, I'll stop by the ATM and pick up some change. All right.
Change. Yeah.
We can donate it to something nice at the end. We'll figure it out.
Papa Santo's going to make it rain.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah.
yeah, we have been trying to do a gig at Comic Cons for a couple years, and it feels so good. I can taste it.
Ooh, can you?
Yeah, it's
What
like
does it
sweet.
taste like?
It's like sweet, sweet medicine, which inaccurate because traditionally, what flavors do you associate with medicine, Santosh?
uh, you're gonna kick me for this, but like it's cherry, but it's like a medicine-y cherry. I don't know how else. Yeah,
The
I know what I
flavor
just
you
said.
associate with medicine is a medicine-y
Yeah, you know
cherry.
what, that kind of kind of, it's sweet at first, but then it has that, it's usually something like phenol or something in there that, aromatizes in your mouth. And, like if you've ever sprayed chloroseptic in the back of your throat, like that kind of bitter, aromatic kind of taste. I don't know how else to describe it. It's medicine.
I'm just angry because I actually do know what you're talking about, but it's not an
Okay.
accurate description.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay.
traditionally we think of most medicines as falling in the range of bitter. That's why
Yes.
you hear the phrase "it's a bitter pill to swallow" and not a joyful, savory delight.
Yeah, and weirdly enough, it will also mess with whatever you eat afterwards. In some cases, famously, when we give our kids clindamycin, if it comes in a suspension, kids will absolutely hate that stuff for that very reason.
Oh, what's the flavor of clindamycin?
Clindamycin is the worst kind of like rubbery, bitter, uh, you know, uh, it's one of those flavors that makes you absolutely gag from the profoundness of that. I don't have any other way to put it. If you took a bike tire and you decided to chew on it for a bit, you'd come up with clindamycin. That's the taste.
Huh.
It's gross. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, do you know what else? So we think bitter, rubbery, chewy is not a a descriptor I would have thought of for medicine, but hey, you learn something
No.
new every day.
Yeah.
Chalky's another big one.
Chalky's another thing. It does most of them because they're in some sort of a suspension that's not terribly water soluble. Some of it will be, like kind of uh, um, syrupy, right? It'll stick on your tongue for just a little bit,
Well, that
molasses
was
like it.
that was the last flavors of medicine where we talked about chocolate syrup and soda jerks. Although I'm glad you bring it
Oh
up
yes. Yeah,
because
yeah.
you know what another pharmacy side hustle, or you know what else started as a pharmacy side hustle?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Everyone's aware of the
Okay.
the pill-like holiday-adjacent candy hearts, the
Oh,
conversational hearts.
yes. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, the be mine or stop stepping on the back of my heel every time we're walking in the supermarket. Yeah.
Seems arbitrarily specific. Is everything okay?
Yeah, we're good. I'll take this one offline. I'm sorry.
So, in 1847, Oliver R. Chase created a medication cutting machine to increase production speed at his apothecary. A good old timey word, if ever I heard one.
I love the word I wish we brought back apothecary a little bit. This was the kind of the combination word, a pharmacist will dispense medications, but there are, the apothecary you actually formulated. So actually a lot of our, compounding pharmacies and everything are, they're apothecaries.
Oh, we're gonna come back around to compounding pharmacies.
Oh,
Uh,
okay, cool.
but yeah, so Oliver Chase took medicinal and binding ingredients uh, and pressed them together and made them into round discs or lozenges.
Okay.
And this these were the original when he swapped out the medicine parts for sugar
Uh-huh.
and flavoring. You got the very first candy making machine, which made none other than Necco wafers.
Oh, gross. Okay,
So he's
that's
like
why.
pill, pill, pill. Ugh, Necco.
Yeah, okay. So he took something that wasn't medicine and he pressed it into there and made a wafer out of it. So
Sugar.
sugar, flour, that kind of thing. Yeah.
Sugar, which would be in medicine, but yeah, flavoring, flour. And not long after, his brother added to the design by creating another machine that put red vegetable dye on the surface of the discs and
Oh,
allowed printing of messages. And since this was already designed to make pills, wouldn't it be nice if they could put the instructions on the pill itself?
oh,
Uh,
yeah. Instead of some weird numbers, letters, whatever the hell. I mean, I'm sure it
I mean,
needs
the
something
anti
to.
counterfeiting measures, which I guess are important, but I
Yeah,
feel like you'd see much better compliance if it
sure.
if you just put, take twice a day. I said twice. No, not at the same time. Although I
Yeah, yeah.
guess if you could fit all that on a pill, maybe it's a little ageist, but I'm guessing that the eyes needing that pill wouldn't be able to read that message.
Sure. So, to be fair, because I traffic in antibiotics, there's all age ranges of, people that will need to read that. But, we also have helpers. We have helpers who can help out the old people who can't read as much, or magnifying glass.
Okay. All right. Monocle perhaps, opera glasses.
A monocle all day. Yeah.
So similar, candy hearts share a lot in common with other pills, which can come in a wide variety of shapes, almost as many as Lucky Charms. No red balloons, though. Traditionally, they're round or oval because rounded edges make for easy swallowing and less likelihood of chipping or breaking shards that could scar the esophagus on the way down.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay, so of course, no sharp edges, but that also means that if it, because the pill can, maybe it's not intact, it falls apart a little bit. So you have less likelihood of generating more sharp edges and shards. Gotcha. Okay, that makes a ton of sense.
Most tablets also contain what are called excipients, which are inert compounds. They don't have any physiologic action on your body, but they serve as drug delivery systems. For example, they can control the rate at which the drug is released from the capsule or pill into the bloodstream, and
Hmm.
also detect using things like acidity and muscle force where in the body it should be exerting its therapeutic effect. So both timing and location sensors. Uh,
Okay,
and this is why pills need different sizes because you have to consider surface area to volume ratio, as that's also going to affect how fast a drug is released. Uh,
cool.
now, did you know pharmaceutical companies actually aren't allowed to color all their tablets the same color, which is why we don't have like all aspirin is one color and all, I don't know, Motrin is another color and all Tylenol is a third.
Oh, okay.
Um,
So that's okay. So you don't mix them up basically because you're the one company that's making them. So you don't want to mix up one drug with another, especially if they're vastly different classes of drugs.
yeah, so anytime you have a dose change within the same drug or a class change between drugs, they have a different color. Now, I think that applies specifically to colored ones, as there are a lot of white pills out there. Um,
Okay.
or maybe there's just more shades of white that I'm capable of seeing, equally plausible. But interestingly, there's actually been studies done that actually show the color of a drug can influence how bitter patients think it will taste and how strong they believe it is. So before we go into this,
Oh. Okay. So this
what
is we're getting into like some almost like some psychogastronomy, but pill form.
yeah. So
Okay.
what color do you think is going to be more bitter versus more sweet for pills?
What color would be okay? So associated like bitter rather than sweet. So sour almost always will put like with citrus. So like orange or lemon or that kind of a thing. So I guess red would be more like spicy. Blue would be sweeter. So I'm gonna go like maybe an orange or a yellow for like close to bitter. Am I
So
close?
reds and pinks are traditionally viewed more as sweet.
Okay.
Uh,
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
and also used in a lot of cardiac medications, apparently,
Yeah.
to symbolize the heart. So
Yeah.
pharmaceutical companies work on the same operating principle as Skittles,
Oh, okay.
and also how strong the more saturated the hue, the stronger the pill will be believed to be.
Oh, okay. So you can kind of like kind of push the placebo effect a little bit by like, oh, this is a very deep red or blue or orange or whatever it is. Okay.
Yeah, you're not terribly far off with citrus, but those are thought to be more sour medications, things for nausea, vomiting. Perhaps their associations with bile.
Okay. Okay.
Blue medications are more in the realm of sedatives,
Okay. Yes. Uh-huh.
purples as well. So it was an interesting study. Um,
That's pretty nice. Yeah, yeah. So I'm guessing this was in, one region and this kind of a thing. It doesn't necessarily reflect a completely universal viewpoint, but it may work for that population.
no, but if let's say, what do you think is the most famous? Oh, I don't know, pink medication. List off pink
Pepto
medications you could think of.
Yeah. I mean, liquid Pepto-Bismol.
There you go. That's
Yeah.
that's branding,
Oh god.
and you can
Oh my
taste it, can't
gosh.
you?
Yeah, like if you
No, right now, as we're
Oh
having this
yes.
discussion,
Oh yeah,
you can
yes.
taste what Pepto Bismol is like because, well, frankly, we're old. But for our younger audience or for our nostalgic audience, did you ever, by any chance, take antibiotics as a child, Santosh?
I did have to quite a bit. I had a lot of ear infections. Um, I don't remember them a ton. I think after about age 4 or 5, it really stopped. But yeah, I think I remember quite a bit of the like amoxicillin and that kind of thing.
I was about to say, as a child, were you taking pills or were you taking liquid formulations?
Usually, because it was amoxicillin most of the time. I think it was usually liquid, but I might be having a bit of a false memory.
And this is the real important one. We're about to have a possible Mandela effect here.
Okay, okay.
What flavor was that amoxicillin?
What flavor was the amoxicillin?
If you need it to be, I can give you a multiple choice, but I'm hoping your memory will
uh,
provide.
yeah, I think it was like like a bubble gum, maybe.
Okay, like a
Uh,
chalky bubble gum.
yeah, like a chalky bubble gum, like that. Or they might have called it like cotton candy or something, but along those lines.
And I'm sure there is a section of the internet shouting out at us, "No, it was fruity. What are you talking about bubblegum?" And but I digress. The point being, the small children listening to this show, first off, kudos to you.
Yeah.
But
how'd
but
you find your parents? I Josh, I was legit about to say iPod. And
yeah,
then I was like,
one
oh God,
day
who
one day
has an
this will all
iPod?
mean something. But for those of you a little bit older, yeah, what do you remember amoxicillin tasting like? Because that was the main antibiotic we got. And it didn't come around until 1972 when Beecham Labs made a significant advancement in medicine, launching
Okay.
amoxil, which was the sweet, vaguely bubblegum flavor mixed in with the otherwise bitter liquid. So, an
Gotcha.
actual spoonful of sugar to get kids to follow through on their course of antibiotics.
Okay, gotcha. Now, I do remember that there were flavors or medications that I preferred over others for sure. Like all of these weren't created equal. So yeah.
So the pink bubblegum flavor you remember is because that sweetness, the chalkiness, it couldn't really do too much about, but the sweetness would help to cover the bitter taste of the penicillin molecule. And the bubblegum was specifically developed for the US market at a GlaxoSmithKline site in Bristol, Tennessee.
Oh, cool. Very cool. I'm glad that they were, thinking about the kiddies. And there definitely are adults as well, who have to take syrups or liquids from time to time, for whatever reason. But we're looking out for them as well.
Now, for those of you in the UK or Europe, there is also another drug maker, Teva,
Hmm.
Teva, and
Okay.
they offer two different liquid amoxicillin flavorings. One is the pink fruit gum flavored, and the other is mixed berry flavored. So, those of you who
Cool.
recall a more strawberry or raspberry based tasting ear infection medicine are not wrong. You may just be in a different region.
Oh, sure. Got it. Okay. So that's why, you can't really have an argument about this until you knew where you grew up.
Yeah. So this is probably the first time flavor or synthetic flavor was officially added to medicine, but in the Middle Ages, when we had the four humors, treatments were also based on flavor. Oh, you're too hot, don't eat spicy foods, or you have too much black bile, you need to eat something sweet. So the idea of flavoring your medicine is not new, but this is prior to 1970. All the amoxicillin little kids were eating, very bitter and not a lot of compliance.
Oh,
Um,
sure. And now all of a sudden you've got a solution to help get kids better, but they can't take it. So what's the use?
but
Yeah.
now that we've said pink bubblegum flavor, what are some other flavors that you remember from childhood or that you associate commonly with medicines?
Good old cough syrup, grape flavor.
Okay.
I think that was, I can't remember. I'm going to be talking about names. I think it might be Dimetapp. And that was the very, very grape flavor one. What is the flavor of liquid NyQuil, Josh? I don't know what the flavor.
Green Death,
Yeah, yeah, that's about right. It's-
Minty Fresh Death.
Sure, sure. Yeah, NyQuil had a very distinct flavor. Pepto had the Pepto flavor, which, I think just tasted like Pepto. I don't know that I could
I think
place it
that's
with
again
anything
in
else.
that bubblegum cherry-ish.
Bubblegum cherry-ish. Was there anything like banana?
Oh yeah,
I don't-
yeah. There's
What?
azithromycin is banana,
Oh, okay. So I wonder why. Okay, so azithromycin, so the old Z-Pack, but liquid form.
but let's think about this. Remember, 1972, Beecham Labs revolutionizes the game, flavored
Sure.
children's meds.
Okay.
But chemists were starting to flavor things back in the 1800s, so we're talking about a pretty long lag time.
Okay.
And
That's fair.
most of the time, when you're talking about flavor science, a combination of words that is just incredibly fun to say, these
Okay. Yeah.
compounds were usually esters that would turn up. So cherry flavors were what you're thinking of as the grape flavor
Sure.
in Germany is associated with orange blossoms. The chemical itself
Ooh.
is called
Okay.
methyl and anthralenate, uh,
Okay. Okay.
and that's because the kind of grapes that we eat in the U.S. or Vitis labrusca is not the same kind of grapes that was available in Europe, Vitis vinifera. So they associated
Oh.
it with the smell of orange blossoms. But
Oh, interesting. Okay, so that's why the grape flavoring doesn't taste like grape to us.
exactly, it's a totally different kind of grape,
Yeah.
but it is the basis for all grape flavored candy and cough syrups currently on the market.
Oh, okay. Gosh, I wonder if that's the same with like the old school, like the Welch's or whatever remember when Dave Chappelle would talk about purple drink?
Hmm.
I want some purple drink. Yeah, yeah. It's not grape, that's purple. Yeah.
And again with banana flavors, you know how banana candies never taste like banana? That's
Yeah, okay.
because you're eating the wrong kind of banana. That
Whoa.
that compound was based on the Gros Michel banana. That's G
Yeah.
R O S
Oh,
space
yeah. Oh,
Michel.
so
We are not slurring an individual. It is a botanical brand.
no, this is actually French. So Gros Michel, which would be Fat Michael in English.
See, much better.
Yeah, yeah. It's hey, you want a banana? Yeah, you want a Fat Michael?
No, I'll take a Gros Michel. But this banana largely hasn't been around since the 50s. It was, however, included in candies before then. Uh,
Oh,
we
okay.
eat Cavendish bananas. Um,
Oh, gotcha. Gotcha. Okay, so we have a completely different banana that we snack on, which tastes nothing like the banana flavor banana.
and the most popular flavor in today's medicine is strawberry, the most
Oh,
requested.
sure. Okay, okay,
Cherry
fair.
is what we all remember, strawberry is what we all want. I think that says a lot about us as people.
Okay, that's fair.
So, if these flavors promised tastier candies and medicines, this became a little bit of a problem. See, I told you that 1972 was when we had the first flavored medication, but that's not strictly true.
Okay.
That was more the liquid formulation because there may be something that our parents might remember, Santosh, from the 1960s, the candy aspirin.
Candy aspirin? What's
Sounds
going on?
dangerous, delicious, maybe a little bit of both.
Okay.
In 1947, the Plow Company, founded by local entrepreneur and businessman Abe Plow, he reformulated aspirin into a small dose chewable designed to appeal to children with a
Okay.
orange flavor called St. Joe's aspirin.
Oh, okay, okay. So, fair warning, we're in the 1960s.
Well, no, right now this is 1947.
Oh, 1947, even further back. So we're in the 1940s. there is still measles and there's still chickenpox, of course. And this may be one of the only antipyretics, meaning anti-fever medications that's around, but especially in chickenpox, okay, we have a very bad adverse reaction when you give aspirin to a kid to lower their fever from chickenpox called reyes syndrome, reyes. And I'm sure that making a candy aspirin like this for kids is not helpful for, causing these reyes syndrome kind of thing, which is not a fun disease.
So, St. Joe's aspirin is what it was
Okay.
called, even though we're
Okay.
referring to it as candy aspirin. St.
Okay.
Joe's aspirin, orange flavored, chewable.
Oh, okay. All
Invented
right.
in 1947. By the 1950s, the number one drug ingested by children, far outstripping penicillin.
Wow. Okay. And that makes sense because you're going to have a lot more cases of, viral infections that need antipyresis. You just need to bring the fever down rather than an antibiotic. But okay.
Kids loved taking their medicine so much that they began to eat aspirin like literal candy.
Oh,
How do
God.
we know this? Aspirin poisonings
Oh,
increased
God.
500% nationwide, and tragically, by 1951, a mere 3 years after St. Joe's aspirin for kids became available,
Yeah.
preschool age children represented 80% of aspirin death.
Oh, my gosh.
Think
Yeah.
about that. Think about how many
Yeah.
people were taking aspirin as one of a few very limited medications that were available. And think about over
Sure.
the course of 3 years, the most common age range suffering from death due to aspirin would have skewed hard to the younger end.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not it's a bad death to watch too because it really acutely, you can have the ringing in the ears and it hurts, and they're kind of nauseous and vomiting and sweating like crazy, and then it'll take you down from the inside. You get drowsy and start to hallucinate, and eventually you'll get dehydrated, your blood pressure will drop, and you can actually get fluid in the lungs and seizures. So it's a scary, scary way to go. But it's also a pain symptom. And what do you give for pain?
Why, golly gee
For
willikers, I do believe you give aspirin.
candy aspirin. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
So
So,
parents
yeah.
would sometimes inadvertently overdose children for just the reason you said, where they would give them and they might have these reactions and then they'd give them more. And what didn't help is that there was no mandate for a standardized preparation. St.
Oh,
Joe's, for
oh no.
example, sold
Okay.
a 1.25 grain tablet, which is 80 milligrams,
Right.
whereas Bayer's was 2.5 grains or 160 milligrams. Uh,
Oh, and you wouldn't know unless. Okay, gotcha, gotcha. Okay. So you could really overdose. I mean, give double the dose by just not knowing that one
by
is
just
different than
buying
the
the
other.
wrong brand.
Right, right, right. Okay, gotcha.
So, as you can imagine, parents and medical professionals got rather frustrated with aspirin, a highly useful medication, contributing to so many deaths, especially one that was aimed at kids, not unlike cigarettes.
Oh yeah. Okay. There you
You
go.
want to be
Well,
cool? Eat this orange aspirin.
yeah. To be very fair to our bygone medical ancestors and stuff, well, maybe a lot of them are still around. I have no idea. It's not that long ago. But Josh, we did have a problem even in the modern era with another antipyretic, which was acetaminophen or Tylenol. Outside of this country, you might call it paracetamol. But yes, we had the same type of problem. It wasn't from flavoring, but it was because of the same type of thing that you were talking about before, that doses weren't standardized. And for a good long time, the number one cause of over the counter medication poisoning was acetaminophen or Tylenol.
As the problem continued to grow, The conference was held in 1955 with the aim of potentially banning flavored aspirin entirely across the board.
Oh,
Stop
good.
marketing at children.
Oh, good, good. Okay.
As expected,
Uh-huh.
capitalism prevailed, and
Okay.
victim blaming ensured it was not the drug manufacturer's fault, but parents for not reading labels.
Oh, come
or
on.
or children aggressively hunting delicious blood thinning aspirin that was kept under the kitchen sink and not safely out of reach.
Yeah.
Really, this is on you.
Yeah, right next to the the comet powder and the bleach. Yeah. Oh gosh. It's it's things like these when people are like, "Oh, we had this and this and we were fine as little kids." Well, yeah, that's called survivor's bias, buddy. It's you were the lucky one.
Well, you'll be thrilled to hear, Santosh, that one pediatrician decided to throw his hat into the arena.
Okay. All right.
And of course, I'm talking about pediatrician J.M. Arena,
Oh, you know what you did. You know.
who at that time was one of the leading poison experts in pediatrics. So he called up Abe Plow himself,
Okay.
who initially was reluctant to do anything. He was scared to death that if he took any action, it would negatively affect sales for his leading product. But if I do anything to make my product less likely to kill, I might sell fewer of it.
Oh, heavens be. Whatever shall we do? Yeah.
So, showing real leadership, Arena responded with an appeal explaining that no, in fact, you can bill yourself as the company committed to child well being.
Oh, okay. Okay. Gotcha.
And Plow said, all right, I'm listening, and assigned one of his executives to work with Dr. Arena to develop what you now know as the very first child safety cap.
Oh, hey. That's a little bit of wonderful. I love that, Josh. Holy cow. Okay. And also sometimes adult proof cap, I suppose.
Well, that's that's a whole other issue. But
Yeah.
the very first advertisement for the safety cap was in the December 1958 Parents magazine.
Oh, okay. Gotcha, gotcha. I remember the old Parents magazine. You don't see it much anymore.
And by the mid 1970s, aspirin mortality rates in children had dropped incredibly quickly thanks to largely safety caps and a few other poison preventing measures. This led to the listing of drug ingredients
Okay, yes.
and a few other truth and disclosure acts. I believe one is called the Harris Act. We'll have some of them linked in the show notes.
So I want everyone to just take a moment and understand this right here and right now, okay? The world isn't nice and safe, especially in a, industrialized world because it just happened that way. Okay. It takes effort and it takes, some a little bit of courage sometimes, and it takes, some foresight and innovation. And these things just don't happen. But when implemented properly, right, like a safety cap, all of a sudden you can get to a point where a problem that was really killing kids, okay, all of a sudden turns into absolutely nothing, and you even forget how it was ever a problem. That is success right there. But you still should be mindful that it took effort and time and patience and some pushing and shoving and yelling. So, come on, people.
So I bet you didn't think when we started this episode that you'd learn citrus flavoring led to childproof caps.
No, no, I did not.
Now the last bit of flavor I want to go over isn't a flavor you'd expect, or at least a way you'd expect to get it.
Okay.
Apparently, I've never had this, but maybe you have. There
Okay.
are patients who complain of a funny taste in their mouth when their IV lines are flushed.
Yes. Yeah, actually kids are hyper aware of this. They'll say that, "Oh yeah, I can taste when you flush the IV." Especially kids who are here chronically, they for long term for things.
Now, there's a lot of medications that can leave a strange taste in your mouth,
Mhm.
and the term for that is dysgeusia, like beetle
Dysgeusia,
dis
dysgeusia.
dysgeusia, like Beetlejuice,
Yeah,
Beetlegoose.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And by the way, your pronunciation might be right depending on like what side of the pond you're on and that kind of thing. I'm not sure.
Now, medications that you take by mouth can be directly tasted, and in theory, medications given IV could be excreted into the saliva and tasted that way.
Sure. As in, it goes into your vein, it circulates around, and then it ends up in the vasculature in your tongue and secreted into saliva. With the cells, and then you taste it like that kind of thing.
Yeah, and then there's others which can disrupt your sense of taste or smell, which of course would affect your ability to taste things.
Mhm.
But what do you think is going on with tasting the IV lines being flushed? The speed with which it happens. What's the speed of
Yeah,
taste?
because it's like instantaneous. It's not absolutely immediate, but it's within seconds. And any particular bolus of fluid, like if you're going into a large vein, Josh, it's about 60 seconds to go around your entire body. So that makes sense that it's less than that. But no, I'm not entirely sure. Like, could it be, because if you're doing something like saline, is it altering osmolality? And that actually changes the chemical balance near your taste receptors and that kind of a thing, just briefly enough. Um, I don't know. Uh, the saliva thing we talked about, but I can't think of another like clear way of like how you would taste it.
So one other possible and the prevailing theory is
Okay.
that molecules, once they've entered the bloodstream, rapidly are directed toward the lungs, where they are then exchanged in the capillaries and exhaled out of the body. And while people you can be blissfully unaware of their own bad breath, even the most oblivious individual is going to smell a new molecular component in the air they exhale.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yes, and that makes a ton of sense because that's part of what our lungs do is, we inhale oxygen, but we exhale carbon dioxide and other waste products of metabolism and things like that. So some of these molecules then are volatile, is what you're saying. Like when they get to the lungs, they can be breathed out.
Volatile meaning they break down quickly, not that you're going to burp and explode.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, exactly right. Meaning that they break down and they float off into the air very quickly. Yeah.
Yeah, so for those of you wondering why you can taste your IV, that's the working theory. But Santosh, I wanted you to talk a little bit about what flavoring in medication looks like today, or what are the flavor advances? Because I got to be honest with you, I feel like you're going to see a lot more people who need flavored medication than I
Yeah.
will.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it depends on how many of your adult patients would like to have liquids instead of pills. And we actually do try to encourage, especially for our little kids. So if they're 3, 4, 5, but for instance, they are a renal transplant patient or something like this, it is actually good, if they can do pills or tablets or capsules sooner rather than later. And actually, since a lot of things nowadays can be, Josh, when you open up the capsule, you see the little sprinkles inside. A lot of those can be opened up that way. You put them in pudding, and boom, you're good to go. But yeah, otherwise, if we're not talking about modifying the drug like that and putting it in ice cream or putting it in pudding or something like this, then you actually do have like the apothecaries that you were talking about before. You do have some flavor companies and things like that that will either flavor stuff for you, meaning that the manufacturer can go to them and send it and say, "Hey, flavor so and so, put this flavor in there, and we'll partner with you to do this because we can't do it ourselves." Or, Josh, believe it or not, some places will have the flavorings available like a what do you call it? Like a slushy machine in the pharmacy itself. So you pay a little extra. It might be like $2 or something like that, or $5.
Are you telling me
And
I can get blue raspberry amoxicillin?
yeah, I don't know that all flavors are available for all medications because there are compatibility issues. You don't want to make the medicine less effective because you've cut it with a flavor that, either inactivates it or makes it hard to absorb, right?
Taco Bell Imodium?
Oh God, gross. Why? That's self-defeating. So yeah, you can actually just say, hey, could you do this? Some pharmacies will have this capability, some won't. It is, of course, a very sad fact that if you're in a more wealthy area, more than likely those pharmacies are going to have those things available versus if you're in a more poor neighborhood, especially in an urban environment. That's a luxury that a you can't afford, and b that they just don't have the money to stock it in their pharmacy. So
Well, there's one company now that does quite a number of flavors,
okay.
and that's flavorx, and I believe you showed me it has a what should be terrifying, but is truthfully a little adorable
It's cute.
flavor bot.
It has a flavor, and actually, it's not as fun as I thought it would be. I thought you could like mix and match stuff with the flavor bot, but essentially, it's just in a little animation off of a drop down menu that you can pick any number of drugs in alphabetical order by generic drug, and it'll list the flavors available and kind of the best flavors that go with this particular
For
medication.
example, you mentioned clindamycin being one of the worst tasting, the
Gross. Oh, absolutely.
Goldschlager of
Yes.
drug flavors.
Yes. Yes.
Well, according to Flavorbot, hey Flavorbot, what flavors can you make clindamycin? Flavorbot computing, learning to taste, learning to love. And it's feeding back, let's see, Mighty Mango,
Ooh, okay.
Awesome Apple,
Hmm, hmm.
Lucky Lemon. I don't know that I want medication to be lucky.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's true. It's
and
just,
Groovy Grape Aid.
oh, okay. So they're doing like grape aid, not like grape. Okay, so it's going to be a little more tangy.
Whereas Colace, a stool softener, still comes in Mighty Mango and Awesome Apple, but
Yes.
it comes in. I don't know that I want this in a stool softener. Giggly Grape
Oh, so they have like a
or
few different versions of grape. Okay.
Wacky Watermelon.
Yes, wacky watermelon. It's important for watermelon to be wacky. Absolutely.
So the point being, almost any medication from although we stuck to a very specific range, but
Yes.
any of the more commonly prescribed medications and even a few of the more uncommon ones can be artificially flavored to increase compliance. And medical flavor science has come quite a long way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of neat. We did have to go through a fair amount of understanding of which of these substances are safe, and then of course stable, compatible with various different molecules and that kind of a thing, and then customize it a little bit. This is okay with these medications, this is not, etc., etc. So yeah, it's not like ye old timey where you basically just threw, oh, this tastes good, and just threw it in there without any thought of like, oh, is it going to be safe? Is it going to be, you know, compatible, et cetera, et cetera.
Although I still think they should just go back to Coca Cola and chocolate syrup.
Oh, yeah. I when we are able to, and as long as the medicine flavor isn't too overpowering, we often just say just keep the medicine as is and give it with something thick and tasty and usually sweet. So yes, like a chocolate syrup, toffee or caramel works pretty well, Josh. Pudding works great because the sweetness kind of remains on your tongue even after the medicine goes down. You just have to check the compatibility. As a for instance, doxycycline binds pretty tightly to anything that has calcium in it, and what'll end up happening is that it'll just stick to that and you'll just poop it straight out without absorbing any of the doxycycline. So yeah, you do have to be careful, what the properties of the drug are before you do it. But yeah, options are
My milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. Their meds work better than yours.
your meds taste better than yours. Absolutely.
I'd prescribe you, but I have to charge.
Yeah, we do because capitalism. Yeah, absolutely.
So that's it for this week with other ways we've used to flavor medications. We may come back
Yeah.
and revisit this, especially in drug design. Uh,
Okay.
but for now, we will return to our regularly scheduled journal clubs and getting ready for comic book medicine coming up at the end of March. Did I mention that already? Maybe I did, but I'm still
Yeah.
pretty excited. So come out and see it.
C2E2 people. And Josh, we have some more particulars now, right? So we can tell them specifically that we are on Sunday, it's April 2nd, is it?
I believe so.
Yep, Sunday, April 2nd is our panel at 2:15 to 3:15 p.m. And I didn't see what room we're in yet, but yeah, absolutely. Please come on by. Enjoy the rest of the con. You can see Dante Bosco, who played Rufio as well as Zuko in Avatar: The Last Airbender, and then you can come see us.
As always, this show is produced by me with a lot of help from Dr. Santhosh and friends. If you'd like to support us spiritually, emotionally, or financially, links to do that are in the show notes, along with links for further reading. Sign on up for ACAST Plus to get bonus conversations that go nowhere and a chance to interact with us even more personally. Until next time, keep a song in your heart, soap on your hands, find a ticket to go somewhere that looks interesting, maybe Chicago to check out C2E2. And once you've
Woo!
done all those things, happy travels.
Bye, everybody.